Larian will not be making Baldur's Gate 4. I know, I'm sad too. Oh, God, please don't do that. Look, we're all sad, but I think it's for the best. Let's unpack this. Swin, the CEO of Larian Studios and number one on my speed dial, confirmed on Twitter that Larian is not planning on any DLC or expansions for Baldur's Gate 3 and will not be working on Baldur's Gate 4. We're just gonna move this previous video right over there. Here's what our half-plate hero had to say. I understand that there will be disappointment because people fell in love with what we created, but it was a story with a beginning, middle, and an end, and it doesn't need more. Disappointing? I wouldn't say disappointing, but sad? Certainly. He elaborates with, we started even thinking about Baldur's Gate 4, but we hadn't really had closure on Baldur's Gate 3 yet, so just to jump forward on something felt wrong. I think that we can all agree that we all prefer more hotfixes and patches rather than a full-blown sequel already. These days, gamers just want their $60 to go towards a full game that was made with an actual desire to make the consumer happy. Fortunately, Larian stated that they will continue to update Baldur's Gate 3 and that they still have things lined up. I think that it's safe to adjust our expectations going forward though, and not to expect any major new content patches in the future. So how come Larian doesn't want to work on Baldur's Gate 3 until the end of time? Why the sudden shift away from the D&D world? Well, because it turns out 5th edition rules are actually a little limiting when it comes to designing an RPG. From Swin, there are a lot of constraints on making D&D in 5th edition, and it's not an easy system to put into a video game. We had all these ideas of new combat we wanted to try out, and they were not compatible. Working side by side with Wizards of the Coast to make Baldur's Gate 3 an immersive D&D experience came with its challenges. I often bring up the struggles that they had designing the late levels of this game, because in 5th edition D&D your characters just get so busted after level 10, which was originally the level cap that Swin hoped to stick to. And that's just a single factor. Larian came from Divinity 2, which was 100% their own custom rules. No restrictions or bumpers locking them into a specific game style. And the result was amazing. If you haven't played Divinity Original Sin 2 yet, please go check it out. Now imagine going from endless creative freedom to working side by side with a worldwide renowned RPG company. Okay, maybe that actually doesn't sound that bad. Continuing with this GDC 2024 interview, Swin mentioned that when it came time to make DLC, Larian was just going through the motions. He says, you could see that the team was doing it because everyone felt like we had to, but it wasn't actually coming from the heart, and we were very much a studio from the heart. When announced to the team back at Larian that they will not continue working on Baldur's Gate, Swin said that the studio was elated. Don't imagine this feeling came out of disdain towards Wizards of the Coast or D&D, but more of like an excitement to finally be free to create whatever they want again. He tweeted the next day saying, I would like to clear something up. Wizards of the Coast is not to blame for us taking in a different direction. On the contrary, they have been a great licensor for us, letting us do our thing. It is because what is best for Larian. I just love my Swedish dad so much. So what are they going to create next at Larian? Well, apparently there are 2 games that they've been working on since before Baldur's Gate 3. Of these 2 games, neither of them are based off D&D rules, and neither of them is Divinity 3. Gut-wrenching. They do promise that the next project, however, will be different from what you think, but it's still familiar, and that the next project will dwarf the scope of Baldur's Gate 3. Dwarf the scope of Baldur's Gate 3? I can't wait to see what they're cooking up. I've been a ride or die fan of Larian since Divinity 1, but I'm hoping that after the success of Baldur's Gate 3, that they have a million more diehard fans ready to support whatever comes next. It's bittersweet to hear that my favorite company won't be working on the sequel to my favorite game. Larian left us with one of the most dynamic, immersive, chaotic, and all-around the most fun RPG that hundreds of thousands of us have ever played. But as I find myself saying more and more these days, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. I know that me and my friends have got dozens of playthroughs and years of Baldur's Gate 3 gameplay still in the tank, and we won't be putting the game down anytime soon. If you ever want to join the fun, come check us out in our weekly live streams where we show off our nastiest builds and get into all kinds of manners of multiplayer madness. To the entire team at Larian Studios, thank you for everything you've done to put the players first and fight against the behemoth that is corporate greed. And thanks to you for taking the time to watch this video. I'm not going anywhere, so feel free to subscribe for more stuff.